Music was my life when I was a kid. It removed me and helped me do something outside of my somewhat dysfunctional family. I didn't fall out of love with what I was doing, but I fell in love with something else. And until I realized, wait a minute, I'm playing a pattern that I just adopted from my father unconsciously.
Right. Joe already knows you have a struggle. You just haven't you just haven't admitted it to him yet.
We love telling our stories, and we love the action conversation. So I call that the conversational bypass.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Pick Now podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Munn. Today's guest is Chuck Wisner of Wisner Consulting and author of The Art of Conscious Conversation. Chuck, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for inviting me. Really happy to be here.
Yeah, so you've had quite a history. I know you have some music in your past. There's architecture in your past. For the last, 30 years, you've been doing, leadership, consulting, and coaching. Take me back to how do all these things tie together in the the tapestry that is Chuck Wisner?
Yeah, that's a good question. I get it often. Well, let's go back. I'll try to be brief. Music was my life when I was a kid. Part of the reason is I loved it, but part of the reason also was when I got absorbed in it, it helped me. It removed me and helped me do something outside of my somewhat dysfunctional family. So it was really a time that all the lessons and all the journeys and all the experiences I had were really, really fulfilling to me. And so it was another world that I was creating.
Wow. So it was both a way to go deeper and in some ways it sounds like a way to escape.
Yes, both.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And so how long did you do that? And what was your instrument or instruments?
So I'm a percussionist.
Okay.
If people don't know, a percussion instrument is anything that's hit with a mallet, which includes a piano and a vibraphone, which I have here in my office.
Do you play piano as well?
I play a little bit. Yeah, I'm rusty because I haven't played for years, but I can read and play. And I'm trying to learn my vibraphone, which is, it's a marimba with metal.
Oh, I love the
vibes.
vibes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So that's fun. That's my learning curve for being an old man, how I can keep my brain alive.
Yeah. Well, just a little sidelight. I grew up singing, but never played an instrument. And 3 years ago, my son had been playing alto saxophone in middle school and decided he didn't want to continue it into high school. And I was like, free saxophone, huh? And I started learning saxophone and gave it up for tenor after about a year. And I love it. I love
that's
it's
great.
a different part of my brain. I'm performing in a band now, and
that's right. Yeah.
Just playing music with other people. I also a few months ago I decided, I don't know that I want to necessarily be good at this, but it'd be helpful to learn piano. So I'm starting to learn that too. And it just brought out this side of me that I didn't even know was there.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Yeah. I play in a band, and there's 5 of us. 4 of us have been playing together over 40 years.
Wow. That must be amazing. Just the level of communication, all of the unsaid stuff that starts to happen when you play music together.
Yeah. The good and the bad, So it's like guys' night out, we have a few beers and play music and give each other a hard time and then have some fun music time. So
yeah,
I'm really blessed to have that to keep my chops alive. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh, beautiful. And so how long did that go as I don't know if it was ever a vocation, but
yeah, it was by the time I was a junior in high school, actually, I was playing in bands and cutting records, rock and roll stuff, cutting records and some TV stuff. I mean, it really was. And then I started teaching when I was a senior. I started teaching to earn money, private lessons. And then, so a very short story. Then when it came time for me to graduate and go to college, I was got really bad. Well, I didn't get bad. I hardly got any good counseling. My parents were not really paying attention. And it was like, oh, yeah, just go to Penn State. I was from Pennsylvania. Go to Penn State and get a music degree at Penn State. But these guys advised me were the music director and the band director at my high school. Like, no, that's not where I want to end up. I'm already doing more than that, right?
Right.
So I didn't go to college first year because I was not sure what I should do. And then the war happened, and I was the first year of the draft.
Oh, wow.
So it's another long story, but I ended up playing in the Air Force National Guard band for 7 years.
Wow. So what period of time was this?
That was 70 to 70, 77, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. When did the draft start?
69.
Okay. I didn't realize it started that late. I thought it started earlier than that.
Well, this was the first year of, they had a draft, but this was the first year they started pulling hats out of the numbers out of the hat to say,
I got you.
If your birthday comes up, you're screwed.
Right.
Yeah. So I was lucky to have had people in music world that said, hey, come audition for the Air Force band, National Guard band. And I did. So that was a really quite an amazing time. And during that time, I moved from music. So the one theme from music to architecture, architecture to consulting, and consulting to writing, the one theme of all of those is I didn't fall out of love with what I was doing, but I fell in love with something else.
Interesting.
And just because philosophically and spiritually, I sort of have a pretty rich life, I listened to that and I said, well, you know what? If I don't try it, I won't know. So I ended up. Go ahead.
Well, I've noticed in my own life, I've had some of those transitions, and it seems like there's always been something that was a through line between those shifts. Like I didn't completely depart the old, but that it was just kind of incorporated into the new. And I'm curious if that was true in the move from music to architecture, and if so, how?
Yeah. It was, the transition wasn't so much, there wasn't too much similarity, except in the creativity piece.
Yeah.
They're both creative. But in every case, it was a journey of retooling myself, retraining myself. So after I got a taste of architecture, because I experimented I worked at a firm as an office boy running blueprints and all that stuff. And then I got to know the profession. I got to know the kids out of college because they were my age. And then I just fell in love with it. Wow, it was so intellectually stimulating. And it was so just alluring that I ended up moving from Pennsylvania to Boston to go to architecture school.
Wow. So you come out of the military.
No, it was during that time.
Oh, okay.
During those 7 years, yeah.
Oh, interesting. So what was like, did the opportunity just fall into your lap? Did you actively seek it out? Like what was that process? Because I just get fascinated by these moments that are seemingly random, but change everything.
Oh, absolutely. And I talk to my clients about that. The big things that happen in your life, if you look back, what was the thing that was the spark?
Yeah.
What was, because it was something that wasn't on your radar screen, but all of a sudden it's on your radar screen.
Right.
It was I had an art teacher in high school that we really liked each other. And she really was a very big supporter of mine and believer in me. While I was struggling about what to do next because of I didn't go to college and music and all that, we would talk and she said, have you ever thought about architecture? And she planted that seed.
Yeah.
And I didn't ever think about it, but I looked into it. I thought, well, this is pretty cool stuff. And my friends were like, oh, that's really complicated. You can't do that. But anyway, I journeyed in and then, it led me to Boston and school.
Well, there is some precision in percussion. It's not just banging on stuff.
No, it's if you're trained classically, it's a lot of precision. Do you know in drumming, the equivalent of scales for your saxophone
Uh-huh.
are called rudiments.
Okay.
And there's like 26 rudiments that are patterns that you learn to play
Uh-huh.
that you have to get really proficient at, and then you mix them all up to create whatever you create. So that's really the
Uh-huh.
practice of drumming.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I had heard the term rudiments, but I didn't know what it meant.
yeah. They're
Yeah.
really funny. They all have funny names like Ratamacue and Flamadiddle and Rough. It's
Yeah.
pretty funny. But they are the foundation.
Uh-huh.
And I learned a year ago from some young kid I met that since I was not training anymore, I think they've added like 4 or 5 rudiments that I didn't even know about. So I had to go
Uh-huh.
back to the drawing board and learn those. So anyway, so
Yeah.
then I was in architecture. I actually had a really cool career in Boston. I went to school. It was a slog. Architecture school was a slog.
Yeah.
I ended up working with a really good firm and was one of the site architects for the Quincy Markets in Boston, which was one of the first historic renovations in the country that was really successful.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was cool. Then I became a partner at another firm, and we had a partner who was an alcoholic. And we were 6 guys sitting around doing this. It was great. But when we got to be a team of 40 people, he was
Uh-huh.
a problem for our clients and he was a problem for our
Uh-huh.
staff. So we hired in help, burned through a couple useless consultants. And then a woman came in, her name was Linda Reed, and she worked with us for like 3 or 4 months individually and as a group. And at the end, we all, we found our way out.
Uh-huh.
We dealt with our partner who we really loved, but he had a problem.
Yeah.
And we found solutions that we were all happy with. We all grew through it. We all learned what we were doing wrong and how we could support this fellow. And in the end, I was like, how did Linda do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
What was her toolbox? What was because I was really, like I said earlier, I have a philosophical, spiritual sort of practice. I was like, what was that? So I
Uh-huh.
became really curious. We became good friends.
Uh-huh.
And she started talking to me about mediation and different things. And it turns out she studied with some folks called the Newfield Group in a program called the Ontology of Language.
Yeah.
You might have heard of the Newfield Group.
I have.
Newfield.
Yeah,
They're
I
still
actually
around.
looked at
Yeah.
doing my coach training with them at the time, and I think Jose had left at that point. It's Jose
Yes. Right.
Alala, right? Am I
Yeah.
pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Oh, yeah.
he had just left, and we didn't talk about this, but I got the opportunity to study with Doug Silsby,
Hmm.
presence-based coaching, it had a lot of overlaps and a lot of
Yeah.
resonance. And he was still at that time. He died in 2018, but I was like um, I think the last group to study with Doug and get certification from him in his presence-based coaching
Nice. Nice.
approach. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we have some overlaps and
Yeah.
resonance there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's Julio Alaya.
Julio, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and his partner was Echeverria,
Hmm.
Rafael Echeverria. They were great teachers. I mean, they were amazing teachers.
Yeah.
So Linda introduced me to that. We worked together a little bit in the building industry around mediation because she
Hmm.
had that, but I knew the industry. And one thing led to another. And over 4 years, I just was like, I retooled myself. I studied with Newfield, did all the practices. And 4 years later, I left architecture.
Wow.
Yeah, and
That's
and
cool.
and again, that was not a rejection of architecture, but a falling in love with this other
Hmm.
stuff.
Hmm.
And it was scary. I had 2 young kids; they were like 8 and 10. I
Yeah.
had one client in my back pocket. My friends were like, "You're throwing 7 years of education away and 20 years of experience away." And I said, I'm not. It's still with me. It's still in my bones. But
Yeah.
so I jumped, and it was a little scary, but it was my attraction and my willingness to say, hey, if you don't try it, you won't know.
So you talked about kind of a spiritual grounding in practice.
Hmm.
Like it sounds like you had some of that leading into this experience. What was
Yeah,
that for
right.
you, and how did you get into that?
Yeah. I I think partly because of my dysfunctional family,
Hmm.
and some of the religious things that happened
Mm.
inside the family, which never set well with me. I started exploring other things about how this universe works,
Right.
and I got into some Eastern philosophy.
Uh-huh.
And at 18, I think I went and learned transcendental meditation,
Okay. Yeah.
which is what the Beatles were into,
Uh-huh.
and Maharishi, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
So at an early age, I got a really deep experience into meditation and Eastern philosophy.
And has that continued to this day?
Yeah. I mean, I had teachers over the years. Right now, I just have teachers that I can hook into, but I'm not as much seeking as I was then.
Right. Sure.
But it's a part of, I think, how I think about and be in the world. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm.
Um, yeah, that leap.
Hmm.
I mean, I went through something similar. It was more in stages, but my first leap was kind of deciding to leave a law firm after going to law school, which I got some of the same feedback that,
What are you
that you did.
doing?
Yeah. And it was to go do something similar at a consulting firm. So it wasn't like I was completely giving it up, but there was this,
Hmm.
you're wasting your education, right? It's like, no,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly as
No.
you said, it's still there.
Yeah. And actually, a lot of the things I learned in architecture around dealing with complexity and organizing complexity, I use I use in my work with teams all the time. So that there was a lot that was transferable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, I learned around a lot of dysfunctional conversations and dysfunctional culture from the firm I was a partner in.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think architecture is the only professional services firm that has that kind of
Yeah,
challenge,
right.
right?
That problem. Yeah, right.
Yeah, any
Well, we
any
lucked
firm
out.
that
We
involves,
lucked out. Yeah, we lucked out to find Linda. Yeah,
yeah, and any
yeah.
firm that involves a group of human beings has those issues.
That's
Seems
right.
like,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
how did you grow the business? I mean, were you continuing to work with Linda at this point? At what point did you go on your own? Like, walk me through that.
Yeah. So before I forget, when I was talking about spiritual, the picture behind me is me and the Dalai Lama.
Oh, I see that
Yeah.
now.
It's
Yeah.
about 10 years ago. My wife and I had a private audience with him, which was really fabulous. And we sat for 7 days in a 15,000 monk retreat with him in India.
Wow.
And we had some connections, so we were very embarrassed because we were on the bottom row of the diocese.
Uh-huh.
And then we were surrounded by 15,000 monks who had much more business probably being in the bottom row than we were. But
Wow.
but
What
that
an
was an
amazing
amazing
experience.
experience. It really
Yeah.
was. Yeah, it was
Yeah. I
really
saw the Dalai Lama
something.
speak in Washington, D.C., probably sometime 10 to 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But I had a friend who somehow I don't know what his connection was, but the Dalai Lama at one point came to the National Prayer Breakfast,
Yeah.
and my friend somehow got to be in a room with the Dalai Lama by himself. It was just the two of them.
Yeah.
And the
Wow.
Dalai Lama like grabbed his hand and looked into his eyes and said something, and it just had this huge impact on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing. I was partially there because I was diagnosed with leukemia
Oh wow.
20 years ago. And
Uh-huh.
so part of my being there and the reason we got special treatment was to meet him and also work with his doctor.
Mm.
So I got to work several times with his doctor, and meet his brother and have dinner with his brother. It was really quite an experience.
Yeah.
There's one story that's worth telling. My current wife of 43 years was my second wife,
Uh-huh.
uh, and in the middle of that transition of getting divorced and meeting my wife, we weren't yet public together, but she got 2 tickets to see the Dalai Lama at a very small venue at Harvard, at Memorial Hall, which is maybe holds 700 people. She got 2 tickets and invited me. So we decided there was enough going on that we could be safe out in public together. And so when we met the Dalai Lama, my wife said, we met you. I mean, we first saw you on our first date. And the Dalai Lama looked at his secretary, who was there translating. His English is good, but he has a translator. He says to his secretary, "What's date?"
Yeah.
And so the secretary told him what it was, and he just cracked up laughing. He just like threw his arms back and cracked up laughing. It was really great.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. All right, so I took us on a little sidetrack to the Dalai Lama.
That's totally fine. I love it.
You asked me a question about the transition, I think.
Yeah.
From architecture, right?
Yeah. Well, and from working, it sounded like you were working with Linda at first, and then you went on out on your own at some point.
Yeah. No. What happened was, and again, I was really, really, my angels were taking care of me. After studying. And after jumping ship, one of my coaches inside the Newfield program was working with Peter Senge and Fred Kaufman at MIT.
Wow!
And her name was Leslie.
And are you in Boston at the time?
Yep.
Okay.
Cambridge. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Leslie called me and said, "Hey, we're starting this transformational leadership program through MIT with Peter and Fred. And we'd like to interview you if you'll be one of the coaches in the program."
Wow.
And I was like, this was like maybe 2 months after I jumped off the ledge.
Yeah.
And I felt like I got a parachute,
But you also had, I am sure that even if you didn't talk about the spiritual stuff, it was in your being. And you also had 15 years of experience as an architect. Like you weren't,
right.
It wasn't like you were 22.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Leslie, had done the same training, and Fred did too. He was a colleague of Julio and Raphael. So they knew the background. But I was blessed, and they invited me, and I had an interview, and I talked, and I ended up working these transformational leadership programs with very large companies for 6 years, I think. And that I learned a lot from Fred.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from the process, Peter. And then the program was very intense. Corporations were paying a lot of money to send their senior executives to work with us for 6 months, for a week at a time. They would come and we'd do a deep dive into something. They'd go away for a month and we would coach them, and then they'd come back for another week.
Oh, I love it.
So it was very intense, but not sustainable for most companies because you can't let your executives go like that.
Right.
So Leslie and I shifted off, and we did a 2-day, 3-day thing for a while. Fred moved to Boulder and started his own company. I didn't join him in Boulder. We just didn't see eye to eye about the future. And that's when I said, I'll just do my own thing. Yeah. And that was probably 8 or 9 years after I jumped.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was that like at first?
The jump?
Yeah. Well, the jump, kind of looking around and saying, "Oh, it's just me."
Yeah. Oh, the to do this myself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a little scary, and it took a while for me to get confidence to really be clear about what my offer was, to be clear about what I was offering the world or the people I wanted to work with. And a lot of my clients came out of that sort of leadership transformational program because I was their coach for a year.
Right. They had met you. They had an experience of you.
They knew me. We had a relationship. In fact, one of them is still a client of mine, and it's 25 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So
Oh, I love that.
pretty wonderful shift. And it turns out that the world of consulting was much more financially successful than architecture.
Who knew?
Architecture is a tough business. It's a great business, but it's a tough business,
Yeah.
and it's labor intensive and lots of liabilities and all that jazz. But
I have a friend who is a partner in an architecture firm, and I think he thought that when they made him a partner, it was going to get easier, and it actually got harder.
gets harder. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, because now you're dealing with finances and you're dealing with bringing in clients and the whole works. So
Right. And
I don't
just the,
regret the architecture. I think it was wonderful, but again, I just jumped, not rejecting, but falling in love.
right. And you've
Yeah,
been in love with this for how many years now?
I think it's 30. I think, yeah.
Wow.
I did, yeah, 30. I mean, I jumped when I was 40, so
Uh-huh.
I'm not a youngster.
Uh-huh. Um, how has that love deepened over the years? Like, how has your work changed? How has what you bring to it and who you
Mm.
are in doing that work changed?
I think over time, and I'm careful about this, but over time, I think I was able to merge the the lessons around language and conversations and the power of words with my spiritual sort of interests.
Mm,
Uh, and in that turn was with, I don't know if you know the book, The Four Agreements,
yeah.
by Miguel Ruiz, right?
Hmm.
So I'm going to, time wise, I might not have this right, but some 16, 18 years ago, Miguel was actually a teacher of mine. I got introduced to
Mm,
him through his book, and I went down to Santa Fe to work with him multiple times, like for a week at a time. And when I went down, it would be like 15, 20 of us or something working with Miguel.
hmm.
And the reason I did that, it was that his work around the Four Agreements was
Uh-huh.
so aligned with what I learned about the power of language and how
Yeah.
the ontology of language basically means who, who, who we are because of language, or why we are who we are because of language.
Right.
And the two dovetailed so much. And then he had the spiritual quality that I really had to explore and check it out.
Hmm.
I guess this all talks about I have this insatiable curiosity that if I look at something, I want to find it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was wonderful because that helped me blend the two. And then I think the third year, Oprah picked his book,
Mm.
The Four Agreements, to be, she featured his book in her first magazine.
So you worked with him
And that
before
just,
she did that.
yes, yes, yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow. So
So after
yeah,
that,
I'm
yeah,
sure it
go,
was
sorry.
impossible to work with him in a group of 12 people after Oprah mentions him, right?
Oh yeah, the next
Yeah.
time I was like, I might come down, and it's like looking at there's 250 people showing up.
Yeah.
Bye bye, love you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so that was, I think that was the beginning of me being comfortable with blending sort of my spiritual sort of ideas about life, very very stoic like. I don't know if you're familiar with stoicism.
Sure.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Blending the two and being able to with clients that are willing to go there to go deeper than just am I conversing right, am I communicating right, but why are you not, and what's holding you back?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel this pull toward just having a more philosophical conversation with you, Chuck. And I don't normally do this on a podcast episode, but
Yeah.
since we're here, like I think we both have this spiritual history and curiosity. I worked with a guy who was a Tibetan Buddhist monk for 7 years,
Hmm.
and um, a guy named Peter Fenner, and he wrote a book called Radiant Mind. He created a westernized version of a lot of the more esoteric Tibetan non-dual traditions.
Yep.
Um, and it just had a huge impact on me.
Yeah.
Um, why do you think we're here?
Oh, that's a big question. Yeah. I don't I don't have an answer except to say we are here,
Yeah.
and so how do we be? I guess the notion for me, you mentioned non-dual, and there's probably a lot
Hmm.
of people that don't know what that means. The non-dual notion is that there isn't a God up there controlling us, or that kind of spiritual sort of like father, mother, but rather we are a manifestation of the God, whatever you want to call it, the universal
Right.
juice, whatever you want to call
Universal
it,
energy, whatever, that it's kind of in
whatever.
all of
Yeah,
us. We're all connected to it. We're
that's
all
right.
expressions of it.
We are an essence of that. So
Yeah.
can we live? First of all, that's a big leap for a lot of people to accept that.
Yeah.
There's no division. You are
Right.
it.
Right.
Be it. Or recognize, acknowledge it, and that's beyond it being scary at first. It becomes quite freeing.
Hmm.
Freeing to just say, "Oh wow, so how do I want to live this life, given that I'm a manifestation of, and that it's always happening. The universe is always working with us. Our intuition, our thinking, I mean, it gets. I just saw the new book by, oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank on his name. The new book on A World Appears on Consciousness.
Mm.
I'll think of his name in a second.
Oh, is it
He
Michael
wrote
Pollan or
The
no?
Omnivore. Michael Pollan, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I just saw him and spoke to him at Harvard last week, and saw him talk. And it is this notion of what is consciousness is the hard problem of consciousness. No one can nail it down. And his book basically is talking to all the scientists that are studying it
Yeah.
that are way out in left field, and then others are saying, "Oh, we're just like a machine," and then everything in between. Uh,
Right.
and so I think that notion of tuning into consciousness and where do your thinking come from, and we're a bunch of patterns, but we have an agency. I mean, that's the deep stuff that makes us free and also wakes us up.
Yeah. I think the I think it's fun that the conversation has taken this direction.
Mm.
I've read a couple people who say um, that the reason we can't find consciousness is that the world emerges from consciousness, not the
Hmm.
other way around. And that just
Hmm.
really resonated with me. That's like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
consciousness is the fundamental property of the
yeah.
universe, not matter. And we just happen to have these brains that developed this quirk of consciousness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's pretty much a non-dual sort of
Yeah.
the teachers, the great teachers, Ramana Maharshi
Hmm.
uh, and Nisargadatta.
Yeah.
Those guys are like, that's it. It's like all there is consciousness,
Yeah.
and we're just a part of that. Yeah,
Yeah.
playing our bit. Yeah,
Tuning into it occasionally. Yeah.
that's right. Right when we can. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great that you
Um,
had that experience with a Tibetan teacher.
yeah. I've been going back and he wrote a book probably 10 years ago now. Um, and he was very kind, and he shared it with me in draft to get my feedback before he
Nice,
published it. And then I didn't know he
nice.
was going to publish it. He was using it as a manual. I had kind of gotten more into the coaching after that, and I had
Hmm.
not worked with him on that because he was about how do you share uh, the non-dual experience, if you will. He called it unconditioned awareness, but how do you share that in a group? And I
Yeah.
was more interested in how do we use that as a ground to um, operate from. Like it was like kind of a both and. Like we have this capacity to rest in this, whatever this is,
Mm-hmm.
and it also seems to free up more capacity to create because we're not
Mm-hmm.
creating from the sense of, oh, I have to prove myself or I have to show myself that
Right.
I'm enough or I have to get the affection of my father or whatever. It's just
Right.
like,
Right.
no, what is this? Whatever this creative energy is showing up in me,
Yeah.
like what is it that's wanting to express through that?
Yeah. 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 My
Yeah.
son is a successful solo musician performer, and I remind him often that he's very, very, very creative and prolific
Hmm.
writing, and I remind him, "You're just a vessel, buddy."
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Well,
Don't get
and I've seen a lot of musicians talk about that, and particularly songwriters don't know where the songs come
Mm,
from,
right,
right?
right.
It's like I don't
Yeah,
know, it just popped into my. I was in the shower, or I had a dream, or whatever. It's like I didn't make this.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. There's a great story. Lyle Lovett. It was either Lyle Lovett or well, let's stick with Lyle Lovett. It might not be
yeah,
right, but a really well-known musician. He's driving,
uh huh,
and he comes up with this great lyric, and tune pops in his head, and he's
uh huh,
driving,
uh
right? And he tells the story. He says, "Jesus Christ, God, can't you wait until I'm at home so I can take notes?"
huh. Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
and then that translates into conversations and communication and leadership, because people have to be aware of what their patterns are
hmm,
that keep them from being open to being a vessel. Because
yeah,
we get so patterned from early age about how to talk and how to converse and even our emotional intelligence that until we recognize a pattern, we can't change it. And we can't open that up and go, wait a minute, that's only one way to be. There's 100 others. And we become more, I call it closed fist versus open hand
mm,
communication. Until we
hmm.
open up our hand, can we receive? Yeah.
How do you help people identify those patterns, and then what once you do identify them, how do you work with them?
So, so I have a little phrase called catch, check, change.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
the 80% of the 80% of the work is catching,
Uh-huh.
and not catching and say, oh wow, I have a pattern. Like I had a father who was really a great guy, but he also had a really bad temper.
Uh-huh.
And then when I had young kids, I found out that if they were out of control, my wife would get upset, I would lose it.
Uh-huh.
So that went on for a while, and I was really hard on myself and blah, blah, blah. It didn't help the family. And until I realized, wait a minute, I'm playing a pattern that I just adopted from my father
Right.
unconsciously.
Right.
Unconsciously. Didn't even know I had it. Once I caught it and said, oh, wow, that's not me. It doesn't have to be me. That's a
Yeah.
pattern that I adopted.
Uh-huh.
That, and without judgment, you can't go, oh, I'm terrible because I do this.
Yeah.
You'll never win that battle. You
Right.
know, you catch it, you acknowledge it, and say, wow, interesting. And maybe where did it come from? How did this happen?
Mm-hmm.
Because we all have lived life experiences. But so you catch it, and then that awareness really is opening to say, okay, let me check this out. Is there any truth here? Are there facts that are counterintuitive to it? Are there other ways of thinking about this?
Uh-huh.
What are other ways of responding when I get this trigger of my
Mm-hmm.
kids? So exploring options and possibilities, right?
Yeah.
And then the change is really the practice. It's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to, there's no magical switch. If there were a magical switch, I'd be a very rich man, because my clients say, I don't want to lose my temper ever again. I say, great. Pay me
Excellent.
$10,000. I'll pull the switch.
Right.
But there's
Right.
no damn switch,
Right. Yeah.
right? So then it becomes a practice. Maybe we practice in little ways to we catch ourselves real time and we leave the room. We catch ourselves in real time and we take a breath and we say, you know what, I'm losing it. I gotta chill out. And then slowly we get to the point where real time we catch ourselves and go, you know what, here's a better way to respond. That's the practice.
Right.
Yeah.
I've worked with some leaders who, one of the things that we've developed is they might have one of those issues. And I have offered to them that they can let trusted people know on their team that they're working on this,
Yep.
and ask for their help. And it feels very vulnerable because most leaders do not want to admit any weakness or that they're working on anything or that there's any problem with them whatsoever, right? They think it's somehow reflective of them or their leadership, that people will see them as something less.
Weak.
And I found exactly the opposite experience, because Joe already knows you have a struggle. You just haven't admitted it to him yet. He's seen it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's so true. It's such a great point. And most people think that vulnerability or humility are weaknesses, but they're incredible strengths. Because, in the higher you get in the hierarchy of an organization, the more pressure is there for you. You think you have to have all the answers. Right. Well, the higher you get, the less you can have all the answers.
Yeah, exactly. The problems you're working on, they would have been solved at lower levels if they were easy.
Yeah. So that notion of saying, I don't have the answer. I love when I was working with Fred and those guys at MIT, we had a distinction of knower versus learner. And leaders we're trained to be knowers. We're trained to be the smartest one in the room. We're trained to have the answer and raise our hand when we have the answer. But that's a trap for leadership, because then they get into what you were talking about. They can't admit a mistake, or they can't say, help me. So to shift to learning says, I can't know it all. And there are going to be times where I say, I just don't have the answer, but let's talk it through. Let me hear all the ideas in this room so we can get smart together.
Right. Yeah.
And that humility is powerful. It's not weakness.
Well, and the paradox is that most of the people who are in that room, at least in some degree, got into that room because they were good knowers. Oh,
absolutely. The engineers or technicians or exactly. Yeah. In fact, I've actually been asked to work with I think 3 times, doctors in the Boston area with the hospitals. I was doing nonprofit work, and every time I would be talking to the people who wanted to hire me, and I would ask questions about the doctor in question, and I'd say, so what does it look like for this guy, and who holds him accountable? And the answer was no one. Yeah. There's the problem, right? There's the problem. Yeah. And so I'm like, well, I have no authority over this guy. This guy doesn't even know me. And if I go and deliver really tough feedback to him, you think I'm going to make an impact when you guys don't have any, don't have any power to do that?
Yeah, exactly. You fix them because we can't, right?
Yeah. And I only done that because I get burned by accepting those gigs. Maybe not a doctor, but
I've had some of those gigs too. Not, lawyers are similar. Like people who are, paid to know.
Yeah.
Right. I have to know the answer and be 100% confident in it. Yeah. It's really hard to look at some of this stuff.
Totally. Yeah. And I'm at the point in my career where I can be picky about who I work with. Yeah. So you either want to do the work or you don't. So if you don't want to do the work, it's fine with me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I've had a few of those conversations, and I think that's one of the hardest things to assess. Some people are really easy. It's like, oh yeah, you're not really interested in what I have to offer. And then there are people who will act like it and then really resist every step of the way.
That's right. Yeah. Sometimes you have to play it out to see where they go. Yeah. So it's interesting. I love that part of working with people because, in some ways it's like helping them wake up, you know.
Yeah.
And some people are ready and some people just aren't ready. They're, however, wherever their place in the universe is, they aren't ready to wake up.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So where are you today in this evolution? You've been doing this work for 30 years.
Yeah.
You said earlier before we, hit record that you're kind of in the process of, stepping back a little bit, but there are things you still want to explore. Like, what does the next phase look like for you, Chuck? What does it involve?
Yeah. So you mentioned my book, which
Hmm.
was published about 2 years ago.
You can
That's
name it again if you want. Feel free to plug it all you
the,
want.
the art of conscious conversations.
I
Yeah.
love which I love
Um,
the title. Yeah, it makes me want to read it right there.
yeah. So what happened was maybe 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I had some clients that I'd worked with for a long time.
Hmm.
And one of them said, his name was Jamie, one of them said, we were having a cocktail together. So we're both being, be relaxed. And he said, I love all the work I've done. It's a huge impact on my life. But there's all these pieces, emotional intelligence and meditation and conversations and all these tools like ladder of inference and advocacy and inquiry. I don't know how to connect the dots.
Mm.
I love it, but I don't know how to connect the dots. And that really stuck with me. That was one of those things that just like, it was like my art teacher saying, "You ever thought about architecture?"
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
sort of like, he planted a
Yeah.
seed. And so I mulled around. I thought about that and I talked to other people about it. And then one day, I think I was walking on the beach, and I live in a little beach town, and it dawned on me that there's some lessons inside the ontology of language about different kinds of conversations that we're
Mm.
not aware of. We're not aware. We are in conversation like fish in water
Uh-huh. Yeah.
without awareness of what the water we're swimming in, the conversational water we're swimming in. And so it dawned on me that, these types of conversations are a perfect structure to hold the complexity of all the tools.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So storytelling,
Hmm.
collaboration, creativity, and commitment conversations are the four conversations I used in the book. And each one, and they build on one another, each
Hmm.
one has an incredible amount of self reflection
Hmm.
to learn about, and also how we do it engaging with other people. And the tools, for instance, in collaboration, it's all about awareness of and practice of productive advocacy and productive inquiry. We're
Mm.
trained to be bad advocates. We're trained to be bad inquirers. How do we shift that so that we can have these
Wait,
powerful,
I want to stop you there. Say
yeah,
more about that. We're trained to be bad advocates.
advocates? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're trained to well, like back to our thing, our former conversation. We're trained to have the answer.
Okay.
Right. From elementary school, we raise our hand to have the answer, not to go to the bathroom, or not to
Right.
say, "Teacher, I don't really I have a question. I don't agree with you."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're trained to have the answer, and then as we get into college, we're of course that's more training, and then we get into business, and we're paid to have the answer.
Hmm.
Right. So we tend to have advocacy as or I say, if I have a strong position about what we're going to do,
Yeah.
or an issue, I tend to enter with a closed fist. This is
Hmm.
what's right. According to Chuck, this is what we should be doing,
Right.
right? But that's pretty closed. Open advocacy is the way. Let me open up and let me share. Can I share with you humbly and vulnerably my thinking under my position?
Uh-huh.
What are
Yeah.
my desires? What
Right.
are my standards? How am I measuring success? What are my concerns? What power issues are at play? What do I want? What are my desires? What are my goals?
Mhm.
That opening of the hand creates a totally different conversation.
Mm. I love that. That's really powerful. Because I think,
Yeah.
like, even to go even a little bit upstream from your idea that we're trained to have the answer. even before that, we're trained that there is an answer.
That's right.
And there's a lot of things that don't have an answer. Like ultimately, we may need to decide on what we're collectively going to create as the answer. But most of the time, we don't know how that's going to work out.
That's right. We don't know the outcome or the consequences. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But we take the best by collaborating. We take the best information.
Yeah. If everyone comes with an open hand, you're going to put all the information on the table, all the perspectives.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it creates mutual learning because I could say, oh gosh, Jeff, I never thought of it that way. Thank you so much. You've made me think about this in a fresh way. I just learned from you, and we have a new conversation. In that conversation, if you and I have that, or you and I and other people have that, what happens is automatically the creative conversation sort of bubbles up. Ideas start bubbling up.
Yeah.
Who knows where they come from? But
right.
Ideas start bubbling up. Oh wow, here's a few possibilities we didn't think of before this.
Well, and we have like the idea, for lack of a better term, the ideas come from the silence, right?
Yep. And the mutual learning.
Yeah, and when we have all of this energy around defending our thinking, there's no room for the silence.
That's right. And I like to think of the silence as space.
Yeah.
Exactly. Space for the ideas to bubble up. Right.
Perfect.
Yeah. So those are two of the conversations. And ironically, storytelling is the most fundamental and it's most primary because it's where we have to do our deepest work. Like what stories are we telling ourselves? And commitment conversations are about the promises we make. So it's
walk us through
action conversation.
Yeah, you said these build on each other. Like just walk us through real quickly. What is storytelling? Because storytelling, like you almost use the word storytelling as like story awareness. Yeah. I'm aware of the stories I'm bringing to this conversation.
Right. So my pattern is to come with an open fist and always feel like I have to be the smartest one in the room, or have to have the answer. That's a fundamental, what we call master story that we have about ourselves. I have to do this. I have to be the smartest one. Unless we unpack that, we can't open our hand.
Yeah.
Right. I had a story that I wasn't a big enough man that I adopted from my grandfather. Because every time I cried or didn't want to skin the deer or I didn't want to do something, I wasn't being a big enough man. It took me until I was studying language to bust that damn story, and because it was always in the back of my mind, even if I was a successful architect in front of a room, I was like, maybe it's not good enough. Maybe they won't like me, all that stuff. It took me to bust that story to find some freedom around, who I am. So we have to bust our stories that don't serve us. We have stories that serve us well. I had a grandmother that adored me and said I could walk on water. Well, thank God I had her because she was the counterbalance to my step-grandfather. Yeah. So we have stories that serve us well, but stories that don't serve us well, we need to take a look at. We need to investigate them.
Well, and even the walk on water story serves us well to a point.
Yes, right. Exactly. Well, you can take that to an extreme. Talk about politics and presidents. Yeah, we go the whole way to narcissism. Right. Yeah. So thank you for that reminder. Yeah, that's good. So we have to be that story conversation is about not only what stories we tell ourselves, but what stories do we bring into the world and how we do that. And so we do that work, and then we are more ready to be collaborators.
Okay.
And we're ready to be collaborators
because we've opened
we've opened our hand, and we're ready to collaborate and do mutual learning. We experience creativity, and the creativity is an individual side too, because it's learning to trust our intuition, learning to listen to deeply to, and not just the first thing that comes into our mind or get stuck in some old pattern. And then
what about speaking our intuition? Where does that come into this? Because sometimes I mean, I've had conversations with people where I didn't, I had an intuition. I didn't say anything. It turned out later, God, I wish I would have said that.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that too is a not trusting your intuition.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
if you do want to speak it, you have to own it. Like,
Right.
I have a hunch, or
Uh-huh.
I'm wondering about this because my gut is rumbling, and I'm wondering about what if.
Yeah.
You know,
Or this phrase keeps appearing in my head and I'm not sure why, but I'm just going to offer it.
let's offer it up. Let's
Yeah.
chew on it. Let's.
Yeah.
What do you all think? Yeah. So I think that is that the individual part of intuition is learning to trust, and it's
Hmm.
also learning to reacquaint ourselves with our right side of our brain. Because we're also
Hmm.
left brain linear oriented, that we learn to, I encourage people to do something different, learn to draw, learn to play
Yeah.
saxophone, learn
Yeah.
to play
Yeah.
this violin, or whatever. So that piece is good. And then with those three, which are builds, we get, I like to use a funnel. We start with a story that doesn't work and we bust it, and then we come up the funnel, and we're more open, and then we have collaboration, we're more open, and we have creativity, and we're more open. When we get to the last conversation, it's a collapse because now we have to
Hmm.
make a decision. Now we have to
Hmm.
make a promise,
Hmm.
right?
And the
And
last one
that
was commitment, right?
commitment
The
conversations, yeah,
conversations. Yeah.
yeah. And that conversation is, we live it day in and day out, but we don't know the waters we're swimming in,
Hmm.
because it's a very complicated conversation, and as humans, we have patterns where we're addicted to yes, we're afraid
Hmm.
of no, and we
Hmm.
forget that we can mediate and moderate and collaborate and have counteroffers. And so there's a dance there of commitment conversations that help us navigate that complexity. Yeah.
I would think there's a lot of self-awareness involved in commitments too, because and I don't know, it's almost like it circles back to the storytelling, right? Because I know
Yeah.
there are commitments that I have made to myself and to others that I'm not conscious of.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No. So
Or
that's
that I've
why.
avoided, right? Commitments I've
Right.
avoided that I'm not conscious of. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So the more we do our own work in storytelling,
Yeah.
the better you'll be able to navigate the new world of commitment conversations,
Hmm.
right, with more awareness. So another phrase that I love is the conversational bypass.
Mm.
So we have four conversations. The conversational bypass, we love stories. We love telling our stories. In some ways, we're addicted to our stories. And we love the action conversation, which is, okay, what are we going to do tomorrow? Who's doing
Uh-huh.
what by when, blah. We love those two.
Yeah.
So I call that the conversational bypass, because we get in a meeting, a bunch of stories are told. Maybe the loudest person in the room, or the room with the most stripes, higher in the pecking
Hmm.
order,
Hmm.
says, let's do X. And we jump to, okay, let's do X. And the two middle conversations
Yeah.
get lost, totally
Uh-huh.
get lost.
Uh-huh.
And executives might say, we don't have time for that. And I say, you don't not have time for that.
Right. How much time would it take to undo this if it's wrong?
Yes, right, exactly. That's the
Yeah.
that's the consequence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's new information we didn't explore, and now
Yeah.
we have to redo the decision we made. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a long-winded answer to your question about
No,
the
I
four
love it.
conversations. Yeah.
Well, and you've done a lot of work with clients, but I mean, is the book, is this a speaking tour in the midst? Like, where does, like, there's, I mean, I deal with this in the work that I do too, is I love working with people one on one, but there's only so many people you can work with one on one. And
Right.
this is important stuff. These are important conversations.
Yeah. Yeah. So just a brief story about the book.
Hmm.
So, and my work, my journey. When it dawned on me that these conversations were a good way to hold the complexity of all that we teach around leadership and coaching, I decided I have to write the book, because my clients would say, well, what can I read? Well,
Uh-huh.
Rafael has a book, Julio has a book. They're in
Yeah.
Spanish. There's these linguists like Searle and Austin who are impossible to read.
Yeah.
Peter Senge has a book. There's all this
Yeah.
stuff, but
Four
as a,
agreements.
the four agreements, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Can I sort of like in a succinct way, sort of put all this together so it's usable and manageable and understandable.
Hmm.
So I decided that, and then I had a story that I couldn't write,
Ah,
and it spent me 3 years to bust that damn story.
how did you do it?
I did it because I hired people to help me,
Uh-huh.
and each time, 3 months to a year, 3 months for one person, maybe 4, 5, 6 months for another, and a year for another. Each time it didn't work
Mm,
because I was saying, I can't write, so you have to put my work in words. Well, they don't have 25 years of experience of teaching this
right,
stuff
right,
or living it, right?
right.
So finally, after a year of working with a woman who comes from a very well-respected writing family, we came to blows because my style, her style, and she wanted the book to be our book.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I won't say any names, but I said, you know what? I really appreciate your help. We have to work on our styles, but this is my book, and I'm happy to give you credit.
Yeah,
Chuck Wisner with,
yeah.
but not Chuck Wisner and.
Uh-huh.
And that was a game changer. She just walked away.
Wow.
Yeah, it was shocking.
Well, she walked away, but you stood up.
Yeah, she walked away, and I was walking again on the beach with my wife, and I said, I'm going to start all over. I had the structure. I had a really good
Uh-huh.
structure, right?
Yeah,
I'm going to start all over and write it myself. And that's when I finally busted the story.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Turns out I am a writer.
I can, right? Well, yeah, and now, as anybody that writes a book, I look back and go, "Oh my God, did I really write that? I could write it so much better now."
Well,
So
I think I've had that challenge too, where everything that I write, and I write a lot on LinkedIn, I'm working on a book myself, and it's like everything you put down is true of you in that moment, but then you look at it from a future moment, it's like that's not quite right. And that how do you manage yourself through that process?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think the fourth agreement, do your best, is
Yeah,
was my this is what I'm capable of now, and I just want to get it out.
right.
And then since then, I've written a lot of articles, and well published in Fast Company and other things. And so I've been honing my skills by writing, 1,200, 1,500 word articles,
Oh, that's great.
which I really enjoy. And again, that's almost a new career for me
Uh-huh.
that I'm having. Yeah.
Is there any desire to speak about these topics?
Yeah, I do. I really do want to do that. And ironically, what I'm talking to Steve about
Uh-huh.
is it's a tough slog because I've talked and I've worked with these teams for all these years, but I've always been behind the veil of confidentiality.
Oh,
So
yeah.
my talks aren't recorded.
Uh-huh.
And now I say, okay, it's time to come out from behind the curtain
Right.
and share, right?
Uh-huh.
So I have had some speaking gigs and I have more, but it's
Hmm.
hard to get people to hire me when I can't show them a video.
Mm.
So
Hmm.
we're working on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So that's
what's the best way if someone's listening to this, watching this, and saying, "I want to hear more from this Chuck guy"?
yeah,
What's the best
yeah,
way for them to reach out to you, or to keep tabs on what you're up to?
yeah. So my website is chuckwisner.com.
Hmm.
You can get a taste of the book and a taste of my work there.
Uh-huh.
I'm really tell people, write me an email. It's fine.
Yeah.
I probably won't answer the phone, but write me an email. Um, I don't think my phone is on my website. And then I have a very light presence in Instagram and a very light presence in LinkedIn,
Hmm.
which I probably should beef up, but it's Chuck_Wisner in
Okay.
both cases.
Okay.
And the book is available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and the normal online places. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. I really appreciate your journey and the depth of it, the depth of this
Mm,
conversation, Chuck. Thank you for coming
mm,
on and sharing your wisdom.
Yeah.
And thank you all for listening or watching this conversation. Please follow Chuck and reach out to him if you're curious. If you want a weekly email from me diving into some of these topics on a regular basis, we'll make sure there's a link in the show notes to do that. And keep watching, and we'll have another episode next week. Thank you for joining us on the Pick Now podcast. Take care.
Thank you.